We're out here out of Port Everglades with Nuovo Jolly, a company that we came across in Cannes, France. They're actually built in Italy and have been around for 60 years. And we got the opportunity to jump on two models out of Miami. Actually, we drove up this morning. So this is going to be a two-part episode. First, we're starting off with this video, which is the 38cc. They also have a sport model, which is a larger cabin model. And we have video number 2, which is going to be the 33. So we're going to walk through this entire boat, run it offshore, see what she can do, and bring you guys along for the ride. So I have Jean here with the company. He's the one that put all this together. So thank you very much, first of all, for having us. It's an absolute pleasure. And I wanted you to go through a little bit of the background of the company, if you don't mind. Give us some information, whatever you could contribute.
No problem. So Nuovo Jolly has been around for about 60 years in Europe. It's a very well-known brand for their design, their reliability, their quality. It's been owned by the same family for about 60 years. Today is the second generation. So it's I work with Theo Aiello, which is one of the owner of the brand right now. They're really passionate about the brand, which is amazing. You know, they're committed to create a great product. As a matter of fact, Theo, as I was saying, across the Atlantic Ocean on a 38 with 2,000 gallons of gas and no assistance for about 7 days non-stop. Just to tell you a little bit about how the brand is proving that the product is worth, trying.
Sure. He's been telling us a bit of the background of behind the scenes, and that story of that trip from Theo sounds absolutely amazing. The whole thing with this brand of boat is performance and safety, from what you're telling me. So very simple boat, but from what they tell us, what it does offshore is amazing, and not a lot of wind out here today, but hopefully we get the opportunity to test that out a little bit. So Jean, what would you say contributes the most to the performance of Nuovo Jolly and the rib boats overall? Is it the hull bottom that does it? Is it what is it?
The first thing I say about Nuovo Jolly, the hull is really what makes the brand very famous. It's been perfecting over the years, making the hull really, really good on the water, especially in rough waters. Then you have these tubes that, increase the stability on the boat. So when you go at low speed, the tubes are touching the water, which, increase the stability of the boat and the safety.
Right.
Once you get on plane, then basically the tubes are not touching the water anymore, and it's just kind of a life jacket for the boat by itself. The boat doesn't need the tubes to float. It's really just like an addition.
Extra support. And it's nice, like we were saying, we were bouncing around doing that little photo shoot, and you don't have to worry about fenders. You can dock up, bounce against anyone. And Eric behind the camera here loves that fact. You can go into a dock and just hit every piling on the way in and worry about zero damage on the boat. So it's definitely a plus. Another question I had, Nuovo Jolly, where did that name come from? What does it mean?
So Nuovo Jolly, originally the father of the actual owner right now, the family Aiello, was working into these materials, the tube materials I found. And at the time, he gets a boat company that was called Jolly. And when they started making their boats again, using the same technology as a rib boat, instead of being called Jolly, they use Nuovo Jolly, which means new Jolly.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Fun to hear the background of where all this comes together, because most people hear the name and they don't even think about it. But a name like that, obviously, to us, we don't speak the language, so I'm very curious to see what it means.
Even the 50 that you saw in Cannes is a good boat for a large yacht.
I see it being perfect, being able to dock up to that with, again, not having to use a fender, bump into it, people jump on, take off. Perfect for that.
And you don't have to worry to give the boat to someone that is not very experienced.
Exactly. You say in Europe it's about 25% rib?
The rib market is really, in the United States, it's starting to pick up.
Sure.
But in Europe, it's been like this for decades. We have big brands like Zodiac on the smaller range that can do standards. But Highfield right now in the US that starts to be we're the leader since about 2 years. So it's a growing market in the US, but a very established market in Europe.
All right. I think we're about to run out the inlet here. So what we're gonna do is try to find. Obviously, we're right over an airport. Can't get the drone up here, so we're gonna try to see which route is closer to unrestricted airspace so we can get the drone up and see what this boat looks like running offshore from the drone angle. Holy crap. Oh man, that's impressive. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's almost like feel some of the wind going underneath the tubes or what, but it almost feels like you're floating. And there was a yacht went by, I went over the top of that. I mean, it must have been 4-footers, and I thought we were gonna smack, and didn't even feel a bump. It's what degree dead rise is this whole bottom?
25.
25? Yeah, so it's a very sharp entry, but You don't feel a smack at any point. And again, even a couple of those that we jumped up out of the water, we landed incredibly soft. Then I gave it a little bit more juice, thinking maybe that was a bad idea, and it was even better at that point. So we're gonna wait for these guys to catch up before we have too much fun and pull away from them, but it's impressive. If you haven't been on one of these ribs, I definitely recommend you try one. It really rides better than most monohulls, standard monohulls that we're used to riding here. It's a 12-foot beam, including the tubes. So obviously a little bit less on the interior, but you know, you got good space in here. It's not like it's a narrow boat. So I don't know what it is that you guys do, but you do it well. I'll tell you, just in that short run. Very impressive. It's fun to drive. Just talking a little bit about the performance, this one has the Mercury Racing 500Rs on it, which are incredibly powerful. I mean, too much power. As they say, most of these are powered with much less. But what do they normally come with? Twin 400s. This was just something they did to see what the capability was with the 500Rs, and it is incredible. I mean, flies out of the hole, reaches like 74 miles an hour. We got well into the 60s in a short burst. In this weather today, you can see how we're moving around, and I know it never translates in video, but it's, you know, 2 to 3 out here pretty consistently, and some larger ones. And I mean, we went airborne a few times, but this thing with the 25-degree dead rise and the tubes on the side, it's a very soft entrance into the water, and I didn't feel uncomfortable at any point. It really feels like some sort of performance race boat in this luxurious rib package. So obviously the Italian design and fit and finish is seen all the way through, and we're gonna walk through and show you every detail we can find on this thing here in a minute. Right down the center of the bar, you can see there's an actuated dining table, so you go from having a very comfortable sunbed to turning this into an excellent dining space. So you can remove this out of the way, then you have your teak table. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there so it doesn't fly away. It's quite windy. But one thing I wanted to mention is the stability of this boat. The tubes around this rib, there's no seatkeeper on this thing. And again, it's 2 to 3 with some 4-footers, and it's relatively comfortable up here in the bow, which otherwise maybe would not be. You can definitely see how these things play a factor on just the stability of the boat, both when it's underway. Obviously, docking is a huge plus when you have these, but stability at rest in any sort of choppy sea or even in a calm day really makes significant impact on this boat. Here we have it in the down position, so you can have, you know, 4 or 5 people lay out here with no problem. But if you want to get these out of the way, actually have Velcro, a couple of clips, and then you have storage space all around this throughout. So it's unfinished, you don't have an actual bucket, which the good part there is that you utilize the entire hull bottom, so the amount of space is tremendous. Right here off the bow, you have a little platform, again with the same teak that they have optioned out here throughout the boat. Really gives it a nice touch. You can do a faux teak as well if you'd rather that. Open this compartment and you have a through hull windlass and a push button control right here, which makes it real easy to unclip it, drop it, pick it up without having to break your back throughout the process. They have quite a few of these handles right here, and it's honestly, Eric was filming, as you saw a little earlier, we were running at 30 plus miles an hour, and he was sitting right here filming backwards with a Canon camera, basically no stabilization on it. So you can sit here if you want. I mean, you don't want to do it while you're doing 60 on a rough day, but on a normal day cruising along, you can sit here, hold on, and you'd probably be pretty comfortable and safe. So right here in front of the console, you have the customary forward-facing bench seat, comfortable for 2, and again, another spot to just sit back, relax, and hang out with those people in the bow. So this is basically its own solitary entertainment space, and then we'll roll to the console area to see what we got going on back there. So here we have a little windshield visor, and it doesn't look very big, but actually running the boat right there, it deflects the wind right over my head. I really didn't feel it, and if you really are going quickly, tuck down a bit, and my hat didn't even move from where it was at. So nice how they kept it sleek and low profile. Then we'll work our way back into the console. All right, so you can see there, it's getting rougher as the day goes on. For those of you that say it's less than 2 feet out here, I hope you can see what the boat's doing in some of this wake. But here in the console, you have it pretty simplified. We have a cabin space here that we're gonna jump into in a minute. And again, this is the CC model. They have a sport cabin model, which basically is like a little express thing. You don't have the walkways on both sides, and you have more offered to you in the cabin, which hopefully we'll get a chance to see one of those. But here at the helm, we have Raymarine MFD, your vessel view, Hertz head unit, Raymarine VHF, a bow thruster, throttle, steering wheel, and your switch panel underneath. Pretty comfortable, little storage space there. I told them it'd be nice to maybe add a cup holder or 2, and they're working on that. But right here is a really comfortable spot to pin yourself in and just ride out. Drop down into the cabin space, and it's not a ton of room in this CC one, but you got a nice berth for two. You can remove this pad. There's a center section that you can lift up and get out of the way if you wanted more of a seating space here. And then right behind me, well, you have a sink, some storage, and you have the private head right there to the starboard side. Looking at the helm seats, you have an adjustable seat rest right here. And actually, it's incredibly comfortable to sit back, and this thing contours to your body perfectly. And when you got to really run the boat, at least I personally would rather run it like that. You're either going to stand right here or jump up to the more elevated position. Now, the rear facing side of the leaning post has a pretty cool little option here. You can lift up the entire thing out of the way, and right here you have a sink, and you also have the option of putting a grill here if you'd like and doing a nice entertainment center. This one doesn't have it because it's brand new from the factory, and we were one of the first to step on it. And then you have a refrigerator, which is really nice to get some cold drinks and food if you want stored here. You have good coverage with the hard top, a nice satin finish on the aluminum piping. They have a pretty cool carbon fiber setup here where you can extend this thing out to a certain point. I'm not going to do it all the way. And then there's like a mast that goes from here to back there. So as you can see, before we had this thing as the U-shaped lounger setup. Now we actually got the upholstery from the cabin out, lifted up the center space, and you have a huge sunbed back here. And if you deploy that shade, you have an incredibly comfortable entertainment area here aft. So I just wanted to sit here so you can get a grasp of how large this space is. It's pretty impressive. Some nice backrests here. You have great space off the transom to get in and out of the boat if you're going to do any diving or hang out at the sandbar. I don't think I mentioned the fuel capacity. It holds 163 gallons of fuel, 40 gallons of fresh water, and one like this, if you want it rigged out with the twin 500Rs, is about somewhere in the 450K range, but again, most are not rigged with the 450Rs. Twin 400 is the more popular range, which makes it significantly less expensive. So it seems like you're getting a lot of boat, 38 feet for, 400K range. Nice option, and when I can tell you this thing performs, I really can't speak highly enough about it. Seems like that 25-degree dead rise, again, with the tubes on the outside. I'm not sure, but I've ridden a couple of these ribs now, and again, this one is right there. It rides out more like a performance racing center console that's built in Italy for that luxurious feel to get out and just do any sort of day boating that you like to do with your friends and family. What's nice about having all this seating back here besides the seating space is the amount of storage that you get underneath. They have their speakers mounted here. They're easy to access if you ever have an issue. Got battery switches back there that I can see. 2 batteries on this side, 2 batteries on the back side, and then you got a really nice access to your bills. Now we dropped this table down because we added the upholstery and made it easier just to get here. But check out the access you have to the bilge. Your pumps are down there. You can jump in here, no problem. Access your valves, your transducer, anything you need to get to with plenty of ease with a space this large. So there you have it. That was our run through of the Nuovo Jolly 38. We just found a great spot here in Whiskey Creek, right inside of Port Everglades, so we can sit back, beach the boat, walk through it a little bit more, take some pictures, and just enjoy the day. But in about a week, keep your eye out because we have the 33cc video coming as part 2 as this series. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Alan Blanco with Center Consoles Only.